I should have seen the signs. I should have known the moment my wife, Sarah, started spending hours glued to her phone, laughing at messages I couldn't see, that something was wrong. But I ignored it. I told myself it was nothing. Just social media. Just harmless entertainment. Until it wasn't. Sarah was never much into social media before. She had an Instagram but barely posted. Facebook? Just old pictures from years ago. Then, out of nowhere, she became obsessed. She started posting selfies every day, always dressed up, always looking like she was trying too hard. She spent hours editing pictures, finding the perfect caption. At first, I thought she just wanted attention. Maybe she was bored. But then, I noticed the notifications. Constant pings, day and night. The way she'd tilt her phone away when I walked by. The late-night giggles, the locked screen messages, the sudden change in passwords. And worst of all, she started talking about her old high school days a little too often. There was one name that kept coming up, Jake. Jake was the ex-boyfriend she used to talk about with a mix of nostalgia and regret. Back when we were dating, she told me he was the one that got away. Some high school sweetheart who had been so romantic but immature. She used to say she loved him, but he didn't take life seriously, so they broke up. Now, years later, she suddenly reconnected with him on social media. At first, she made it sound casual. "Oh my God, Jake messaged me today. I haven't talked to him in years," she said one evening, acting surprised. I didn't like it. Something about the way her eyes lit up, that wasn't just nostalgia. I asked her, "So, what does he want?" She shrugged. "Nothing. Just catching up." Yeah, lies. From that moment on, I saw her phone screen light up with his name more than I ever saw mine. Her Instagram was suddenly filled with throwback pictures of her younger self, the girl Jake used to know. And she wasn't posting pictures of us anymore. Our date nights? Our anniversaries? Gone. Like I didn't exist. But I did exist. And I wasn't about to let her forget it. One night, I casually said, "You've been talking to Jake a lot lately." She scoffed. "You're not jealous, are you?" She laughed like it was absurd. Like I was the crazy one. "Should I be?" I asked, holding my ground. Her answer? Silence. That was all I needed to know. But I wasn't just going to sit there and wonder. I had to see it for myself. So I waited. I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. Instead, I started watching her closer. And what I found, it made my blood boil. She wasn't just talking to Jake. She was hiding him. One night, after she fell asleep, I grabbed her phone. Locked. But I knew her passcode. She had changed it, but I figured it out. And the moment I opened her messages, I felt my stomach drop. There it was. Flirty texts. Late-night messages. Inside jokes. Memories. And then, the worst part. Plans to meet up. She had told me she was going to have a girls' night out next Friday. But in reality, she was meeting Jake. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. My hands shook as I scrolled through their messages. She was calling him babe, sending him pictures she never sent me, telling him she missed him. I felt like I was going to explode. I could have confronted her right then. I could have woken her up, shoved the phone in her face, and demanded the truth. But no, that wasn't enough. I wanted proof. So I waited. And when Friday night came, I followed her. She left the house in a tight dress, one I hadn't seen her wear in years. She put on perfume, did her makeup like she was going on a first date, and told me with a straight face, "I'll be home late, babe. Don't wait up." I almost laughed at the audacity. She thought I was a fool. I let her walk out the door, smiling like she had me wrapped around her little finger. But she had no idea. I was right behind her. I waited a few minutes, then grabbed my keys and got in my truck. I didn't even have to guess where she was going. I had already seen the texts. She and Jake were meeting at a fancy little restaurant across town, one she had never once suggested we go to. Interesting. I kept my distance, tailing her just close enough to see her car but not be seen. She parked, fixed her lipstick in the mirror, and stepped out, her eyes scanning the area. Then, there he was. Jake. Some donkey in a leather jacket, trying too hard to look young. He had that smug, cocky stance, like he already knew he was getting lucky tonight. Disgusting. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Sarah smiled when she saw him. A real smile. The kind she stopped giving me years ago. She walked up to him, and, Jesus Christ, she hugged him. Not the kind of hug you give an old friend. She clung to him, pressing her body against his like she was melting into him. I felt sick, but I wasn't about to lose my head. No, I wanted her to dig her own grave first. So I waited. I let them go inside, and then I followed. The restaurant was dimly lit, crowded just enough that I could blend in. I sat at the bar, keeping my head low, watching them from the reflection in the mirror. They got a cozy little booth in the corner. He reached across the table, taking her hand, and she let him. I pulled out my phone, started recording. She was giggling, twirling her hair, looking at him like he was the only man in the world, like I didn't exist. Then the drinks came, and with each sip, she leaned in closer. Her fingers traced his wrist. She bit her lip. She looked like a woman falling in love. I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. And then, she said it. She whispered it, but I saw it on her lips. I missed you. That was it. I stood up, walked straight to their table, and when she finally noticed me, her face drained of all color, she gasped, snatching her hand away from his like it burned her. What are you doing here? Jake turned, confused, until he saw the look on my face. That's when he knew. I smiled. A cold, slow smile. Then I pulled out my phone, held it up, and pressed play. The video, the one of her giggling, touching him, whispering sweet nothings like a lovesick teenager. I let the video play loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. The people at the surrounding tables turned to look. Conversations hushed. Sarah's hands shot up to grab my phone, but I yanked it away. Don't even try it. My voice was low, shaking with rage I could barely contain. Jake shifted uncomfortably. Hey man, maybe we should? I cut him off. Shut the hell up. He shut up. I turned back to Sarah, my so-called wife. The woman who swore she loved me. What's wrong, babe? I asked, my voice dripping with venom. Aren't you having fun? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Lying wasn't an option anymore. People were watching. Some had their phones out, recording. The waitress stood frozen nearby, her notepad in hand, eyes wide with shock. Sarah's breath hitched. I can explain. I laughed. Actually laughed. Because what the hell was there to explain? You lied to me, I said. You snuck around. You planned this. And now you want to talk? Her eyes darted around, like she was looking for an escape. But there wasn't one. Not this time. Jake, the spineless donkey, pushed back from the table like he was ready to bolt. Look, dude, I didn't know she was. I turned to him. Shut up. He shut up again. Then, I looked Sarah dead in the eyes. I hope he was worth it, I said, voice calm. Too calm, because I wasn't about to yell. I wasn't going to make a scene. I had already won. I slid my wedding ring off my finger, placed it on the table, and walked away. Behind me, I heard her start to cry, heard the whispers, the murmurs, the gasps, but I didn't stop. I walked out of that restaurant free, but I wasn't done. Not even close. See, most guys would have stormed out, gone home, and spent the night drowning in whiskey, questioning where it all went wrong. But I'm not most guys. I wasn't about to let my cheating wife just slink away and pretend like this never happened. I got in my truck, gripping the wheel so tight I thought it might snap. My heart was still pounding, my mind racing with everything I'd just seen. The way she touched him, the way she looked at him, like I was nothing. I was done being nothing. I drove home, parked, and sat there in the dark for a few minutes, just breathing, thinking. My hands weren't shaking anymore. No, now they were steady, focused. Sarah was going to come home, all panicked, probably crying, begging for forgiveness. And I wanted to be ready. So I did what any sane man would do. I packed her bags. Not just a little overnight bag either. I packed everything. Every last piece of clothing, every little perfume bottle, every hairbrush, every stupid candle she bought but never lit. I dumped them all into suitcases, dragged them to the front door, and then I went into our bedroom and grabbed my laptop. Because I had one more move to make. I logged into our shared accounts, bank, utilities, Netflix, all of it. And I changed every single password. Then I pulled up our home security cameras. See, Sarah must have forgotten that I had access to everything. And sure enough, I found what I was looking for. Jake had been here before. While I was at work, while I was working hard to provide for her, that donkey had been inside my house. Sitting on my couch, drinking my beer, probably doing a whole lot worse in my bed. I clenched my jaw so tight, I thought my teeth might crack. I downloaded the footage, saved it, dated it. Then I sent it straight to her family group chat. Her parents, her sister, her cousins, all of them. No message, no explanation. Just a nice little video of their precious Sarah betraying the man who gave her everything. Boom. Sent. And just as I hit send, I heard the sound of tires screeching in the driveway. Sarah was home. I didn't even get up. I just sat there, sipping the whiskey I poured myself, watching the clock as she fumbled with the lock. Then, bam, the front door swung open. She stood there, mascara running, breath hitching, eyes red from crying. And the second she saw the suitcases by the door, her face crumpled. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Babe, please." I held up a hand. "Don't." She froze. I stood up, slow and steady, my whiskey glass still in my hand. "You had your fun, Sarah." My voice was calm, too calm. "Now it's time to go." Her lip trembled. "I swear, it didn't mean anything. Jake was just..." I laughed. Actually laughed. Didn't mean anything? I pulled out my phone, scrolled for a second, then turned the screen toward her. The video of her and Jake at the restaurant. She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I'm not stupid," I said, voice low. "You weren't just catching up. You weren't just talking. You were planning this for weeks. Lying to my face. Sneaking around. Making me look like an idiot." Her face twisted with panic. "I love you. I was just confused. I made a mistake." I shook my head. "No, Sarah. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is burning dinner. You made a choice." She started sobbing, her shoulders shaking. I don't have anywhere to go," she choked out. I raised an eyebrow. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before screwing around." Her eyes darted to the suitcases, then back to me. And for a split second, I saw something else flash in her gaze. Not sadness. Anger. Like she was pissed that I wasn't just rolling over and forgiving her. She wiped at her face. "So that's it? You're just throwing me away?" I took a slow sip of whiskey. "No, sweetheart. You threw yourself away." Her chest heaved, and for a moment, I thought she might start screaming. But then, her phone buzzed. Her eyes flicked down, and I saw it. Jake, texting her, right in the middle of her fake crying act. I smirked. "Go ahead. Answer it." She swallowed hard, shoving the phone into her pocket. "It's not what you think." I shook my head, stepping closer, lowering my voice. "Get out of my house." Her breath hitched. "But..." "Out. Now, for the first time, real fear flickered in her eyes. She knew I was done, that there were no more second chances. She let out a shaky breath, grabbed the suitcases, and dragged them out the door. I followed, standing in the doorway, watching as she threw them into the trunk of her car. Before she got in, she turned one last time, eyes pleading. "Can't we just talk?" I exhaled through my nose. "We just did." And then, I shut the door in her face. I locked it, walked to the kitchen, poured myself another drink, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. That night, after I locked Sarah out of my life, I sat on the couch, sipping whiskey and staring at the walls of a house that suddenly felt a hell of a lot bigger. It was quiet, too quiet, and for a second, a split second, I wondered if I'd done the right thing. Not because I still loved her. No, that part of me died the second I saw her melting into Jake's arms. But because I had trusted her, built a life with her. And now, she was just gone. But then my phone buzzed, and when I picked it up, I saw the absolute storm unfolding. Sarah's family? They had seen the video, and they weren't happy. Her sister texted me first. "What the hell, dude?" I smirked. "Here we go." Then came her mom. "Can we please talk?" Sarah is devastated. Devastated? Oh, that's rich. Finally, her dad, the one person I actually respected in her family, sent me just 2 words. "She's an idiot." Yeah, right, she was. I didn't reply to any of them. Not my problem anymore. But Sarah? She wasn't done. A few hours later, my phone rang. It was her. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted. Then she called again. Finally, I picked up, but I didn't say a word. I just let her talk. "Please," she sniffled. "Can we meet? Just to talk?" I swirled my whiskey, staring at the ice cubes clinking in the glass. "Talk about what, Sarah?" She hesitated. I made a mistake. I was confused, but I never wanted to lose you." I scoffed. "That's funny, because you sure as hell didn't look confused when you were calling Jake babe." Silence. Then, "I swear, it wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything. I got caught up in the past." "The past?" I laughed. "Sarah, the past is supposed to stay behind you. You don't climb back into bed with it." More silence. Then she whispered, "I don't love him." "Maybe not," I said, "but you sure as hell don't love me either." I could hear her breathing, shaky and uneven. I don't know who I am without you." There it was. The real reason she was calling. She wasn't sorry. She was scared. Scared to be alone. Scared to face the consequences of her actions. I took a deep breath, my grip tightening around the glass. "Sarah," I said, voice steady, "that's not my problem anymore." She started crying. Hard. But I didn't feel bad. Not even a little bit. Because she didn't cry when she was texting Jake. She didn't cry when she was sneaking around behind my back. She didn't cry when she was planning to meet him. She only cried when she got caught. And I don't waste my tears on people like that. I exhaled slowly. "Goodbye, Sarah." Then I hung up, blocked her number, and just like that, she was gone. The next few days were a whirlwind. People started talking. Sarah tried to spin the story, said we had marriage problems, and that she was emotionally vulnerable. Jake? He disappeared off social media, probably realizing he'd just been a temporary distraction for a woman who never really wanted him back. And me? I moved the hell on. The divorce? Fast-tracked. I had all the proof I needed. Texts, videos, even security footage of her bringing another man into my home. The house? Mine. The bank accounts? Locked. Sarah walked away with nothing. And I walked away a free man. No more lies. No more fake love. No more wondering if the woman next to me was secretly dreaming about another man. Just me. My life. My future. And for the first time in a long time, that future felt so good.